Boom. All right, everybody, welcome, hello, and welcome to the Boiler Room. This is the July the 21st edition of the Boiler Room, right here live at alternatecurrentradio.com, Spreaker.com, YouTube.com, and Rockfin.com. Oh, man, did I actually get the Rockfin going? All right, let's see here. That should, boom, there's that big red button. That means Rockfin should be going also. Wow, talk about a producer combat landing there. I didn't get my sync claps in until we went live. I didn't get the multi-track running until we went live, and I barely got Rockfin going. I think I'm juggling all the chainsaws here, though. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we got 5 recordings going and 2 streams going. No, make that 3 streams going. So that is the juggle over here tonight that we came into for the Boiler Room. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host. My call sign is Hesher, and it's great to be with you all here tonight. I've always loved the metaphor. I think my dad instilled this in me. Hi, Dad. I think he instilled this in me, the analog hill metaphor, right? Where you've got 2 parties working towards something, going up the mountain, whatever. And everybody brings their own skill sets to the mix. And it's a big goal, it's Mount Everest or whatever, Mount Analog, giant mountain that stretches humanity to its point where it needs to reach out to one another to make it up the hill. And I am here with my friends that I like to do that with here tonight, my friends that I am climbing Analog Hill with when it comes to maintaining some sanity here in the toxic media streams and trying to figure out ourselves how to navigate modern media, 21st century media, if you will, without being crushed by it, left by the wayside, or sucked into an evil machine of some sort. So that is quite the Rubik's Cube of modern media, folks, especially when you're not doing ASMR or funnel businesses where you're sending revenge feces to people in the postal service. You know what I mean? There are like Beavis and Butthead level businesses that someone like me and my friends could undertake if we were shrewd money making people. But we represent this small segment of society that we have coined the Social Rejects Club because we have discovered that one gets socially rejected when they do not toe the line of the mass media cartel's narratives. And when they have a good reason to not do that because they've done a little bit of research and they know who manages those narratives and what dangerous people those are. So the Social Rejects Club is here once again, and we're climbing that analog mountain. We're trying to figure out how to be viable, long-term, uncancelable in the independent media. And that, my friends, is quite the journey for a group of people like this, who, which I mentioned last time, you joined us, are made up of all kinds of professionals, all kinds of intellectuals. Yet this is uncharted territory. This whole how to not get canceled for being a free thinker in a free country. What? When did that become a thing? When did that become something we needed to spend all our energy on? Hey, I need to get together with, how many do I have in the green room here tonight? One, two, three, four, five. I need to get together with five of my friends and 20,000 of my listeners and talk about how we cannot get canceled for talking like free people in a free society. Isn't that neat? Isn't that neat that we're doing that? And that some level of government and media is allowing footage of the president's son smoking crack with hookers to be something that we all have to ingest in the mainstream media. How did we get here? What is this? What is this? Well, apparently it takes a room of 7 intellectuals and professionals and scientists and independent journalists and analysts and filmmakers and philosophers and WTF analyzers and metalheads to try to figure out WTF is going on here. So that's what we're here to do. Welcome to the Boiler Room. We hope ourselves to learn how to protect ourselves from predatory mass media cartels. And we hope that maybe you can learn something along the way from us, even if we are dragged down beneath the wheels of these strange machines. Welcome to the Boiler Room, everybody. AlternateCurrentRadio.com. That's our website. Green Room is open. Let's say hi to everybody. Odd man out of the Oddcast. What's going on? Welcome to the Boiler Room.
What it is, my man. It's so great to be back with you guys. I'm thankful every day that I've got people like you guys to talk with because it gets depressing, man. A lot of this stuff really can get on your nerves and really bring you down. And as long as you've got people to kind of talk to about it, you don't have to hide, you don't have to go in your closet and hide anymore. Exactly. I mean, maybe you do a little bit, but when you get with your real friends, you can actually be real and talk about things that matter. And so I always look forward to it. Thank you, my friend. Thank you all.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Odd Man Out, and thanks for everything you do and for joining us on TNT this week. It's been awesome. We've all been very busy this week. We're working on new relationships. We're climbing that analog hill with an entire other network now, not just each other, but we're working with TNT pretty tightly right now, and we're all full force on both of these endeavors and making sure that they grow together. Anyways, Ruckus, welcome, man. Ruckus, you're one of those people I've been climbing that hill with for a long, long time, my friend. Long time. You, Spore, Patrick Henningsen, a number of our other colleagues and listeners. It's been quite the journey to get here. And I always marveled at how the common sense, like, arena of media viewers was getting smaller and smaller and smaller as we move towards the Trump era, right? I know you cued into this also on your previous podcasts and while you were listening to early Boiler Rooms. It was like, wow, the common sense, like, pathways becoming more of a razor's edge. And I think it did when Trump came up. But now, after everybody's sort of like looking at Trump and looking at COVID and looking at Summer of Love and all this stuff in hindsight, the common sense arena is sort of like widened back out. I'm probably not doing a good video production right now. I'm got it on you when it should be on me. But hey, fuck it, man. We're in the Boiler Room. You know what I'm saying though? It's like all of a sudden the common sense arena is coming back to more of a mainstream audience because more and more people are willing to listen to it now, I think. So I think that is noteworthy.
Well, I hope the viewers will appreciate that little trick I just did that entire time. I was throwing my voice and making it sound like Hesher. I think I did a really damn good job there. Man, I promise you, watch it again, folks. You did not see my lips move at
A
all.
true ventriloquist.
But yeah, no, it's been quite the journey. You're right, and it is certainly uphill. But kind of like with like these Donkey Kong kind of creatures at the top, hurling barrels of filled with conspiracy candy at us, occasionally like Molotov cocktails and whatnot. So it's pretty rough, but yeah, there seem to be things that are completely open and talked about in the quote unquote mainstream that I think you might only hear on a show like Boiler Room a few years ago. So it's astounding. Our friend Joseph Arthur over at TNT is emboldened and recognizing lots of instances where we're kind of like we're winning. People are waking up, and there is a mass awakening that's happening. But I feel I'm like, at what cost? I mean, like it takes what we're witnessing with like this sitting president and what you discussed about what we're seeing with his son and the way people are acting, like people like the Squad pretending to get arrested and supposed anger over Roe v. Wade. We see all these obvious in-your-face failures, the Uvalde incident, lots of these things, and it's like everyone is like seeing it for what it is, and I find that interesting. But I'm kind of like nervous and cautious about it. I'm like, okay, now what does that mean? Where is this leading? And I don't know. But luckily we're here together to try to figure out what that might be by looking at the news and the things that they're saying, either out in the open or sometimes in secret, which is why I'm grateful for somebody like Oddman there who likes to dig into what the people do behind the scenes in secret. So we take all of these things together as a recipe for trying to figure out what's the real, what's not, and survive against this propaganda, this evil cartel, the mass media. And so here we are, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here tonight, Ruckus. Corey Drayton coming up next, the Wandering Wolf. Ruckus is on to something there, man. I at the same time as I appreciate the mass awakening of former NPCs, welcome to the I don't know, whatever. Welcome to the Matrix. Uh, so thank them. A lot of people are changing their minds and stuff, but I do share Ruckus's concern about the rate at which the red pill cannons fire, because some of us, and this goes for, I'm not talking about myself or whatever. It just means so many people have been researching this stuff for so many years. There's so many people so much smarter than all of us in here that have been at this for a long time, that have seen all this coming. They know what all this polarization means. They know what it's intended for. They know what happens when a society is taken over by industrial complexes like snake oil complexes and military complexes and all that stuff, or cultural engineering complexes. So it's just, I don't know. There's so much information available now, but it takes so long to integrate it all and do like what Sumo and Smokestack at Maps do, which is that worldview repair service sort of thing. I feel like it takes a long time to sort of rebuild all that stuff. But I don't know, maybe the nihilism you and I were talking about has made it such that people don't really have such bad foundations like we did. They just have no foundation whatsoever. Maybe they put it together quicker than us. But welcome to the Boiler Room, man.
Thanks, man. It's good to be back. It's been such a busy week. I mean, 2 appearances on TNT Radio, which has been awesome, and now back in the Boiler Room. So I'm super excited to be with you all tonight. I was thinking about both of what Ruckus was saying, and you were saying, Hesher, and Oddman was saying earlier too. And it really does seem like, over the past few years, we've climbed through this bullshit bog into catharsis caverns. So now in the catharsis caverns, they're circuitous and it's a labyrinth and it's dark at times, but we can feel a breeze. We can feel a bit of air, which means that there is an exit. There is a way out. And we just have to exercise some discernment as we navigate where we currently stand to get back into the light. And I think, while I maintain a cautious optimism about this moment in cultural history, not only is it good to be with like-minded people, it's good to be with minded people, people who can think, people who can exercise discernment, who are able to look at the curated chaos that we're all exposed to and commit themselves to making some meaning out of it. And Hesher, you hit upon a really good point. If we get 5 people, if each one of us gets 5 people in our lives that we can do that with, then we create these free thinking cells. You get enough of those together, we can push back against the tide of mass media misinformation. So I'm excited to be here, and thanks for having me back.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're very glad to have you back. That's right. Yep, you're exactly right. They say that we are essentially the the average of the 5 people that we hold closest to us. So, if you mind that, it's not an exact equation, obviously, I'm sure, but if you put your intention towards, having those people around you, we can get through a lot of stuff. We can get through a lot of stuff. We don't have to agree on all the stuff, everybody. We don't have to agree on all the reason we don't have to agree on all the fucking stuff is because the stuff has been politicized to polarize us against each other. So if I don't like abortion and you do, big fucking deal. Maybe we both don't like masks. Maybe we both don't like big pharma companies being given indemnity to do whatever they want to the entire population of the world, or maybe we disagree on both of those. But I bet you, as long as you're smart enough to not hold a pre-programmed NPC identity politic, then we'll find something we agree on. Am I wrong, Infidel Pharaoh? Do we not need to have a little bit of humility here and forgiveness for each other because we've been polarized on all this fucking stuff?
Yeah, sadly, that's what we've been living through. Honestly, it started during Obama time. I think that's when that really started picking up, and
Yeah.
with Trump coming in, that definitely put it to a whole new level. Um, we thought it was going to stop after him, but it continues. So it's not really Trump. It's just where we are right now.
Right. It's like the tide of the zeitgeist has us there. And Obama, you're right to point out the Obama era because there's a clip. I don't have it to hand, but you could find a clip of Obama, and there's articles about it. Obama talking about this cultural army that he's fostering of like normal people, right? And then what do we see during Trump years? It's like, oh, what a prophecy! Now we've got all these culture warriors and woke warriors.
Yeah, yeah. It's Obama did a lot of damage to this nation, but so it's interesting, man. Yeah, I don't know where it's going. I'm hoping that I mentioned before that people will unite on few things, but there is just a lot of just people that are just so brainwashed. All what they see is politics and political differences. I thought even politics, it's really emotion. It translated into now into pure emotion, you know. Well,
Hmm.
it's and media. It's all because of that fake news, mainstream media. It just amplified every issue, made people so emotional about those issues. Um, and honestly, their vision is the, the way they think about it is not. It's not. It's not politics anymore. But now it's emotion. Is now it's principles. That's why it took it to the next level, right?
Hmm.
It's it didn't become any political issue anymore. It's moral and it's fundamental uh, issue that their worldviews depend on sometimes. Um,
Right.
so
Yeah, they don't tell us the both sides of it and let us decide for themselves. They tell us one side of it, and then they tell us how to feel about it. Most importantly, they apply the feels to it. That's kind of how I see what you're saying there.
yeah, yeah, it's a directed message, right? That
Yep. Yep. All right. Well, Infidel, we're glad you are here with us tonight for that. Infidel's on his mobile rig tonight because he's been under attack by the New World Order, and he has to be on a burner phone tonight. So I'm going to ride the volume for Infidel and make sure we can hear him. But thanks for being here tonight, Infidel. And it is
thanks, man.
time. Yeah, man. Very glad to have you. Thank you. And I think, yeah, we said hi to everybody except my lovely co-host, the one and only, the very lovely Spore, curator of all things Whiskey Tango Foxtrot on the internet. Lovely Spore, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Hey, happy to be here.
All right. Well, it's good to have you, and I'm excited to hear. Let me make sure I crank it up this time. I haven't been giving your icebreaker the proper decibels lately. There it is.
Oh,
Icebreaker.
that was sweet.
Yeah. Was that loud in the earbuds there?
Yeah, that was great. So this one was actually inspired by listening to the Sunday Wire this weekend. There was maybe, I'm sure you have the name, the germ theory gentleman.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's Steve Falconer.
Mm-hmm. Really, really great show and thought-provoking. And he mentioned something that I'd never heard before on there. And he was talking about the toxins that our bodies release and how they affect us. And he mentioned a story about a man that killed his wife by farting under the blankets too much and killing her by his fart.
All right. Yeah, I recall this. That was on the Sunday Wire, everybody. And as crazy as this sounds, there is something to it. And also, we highly recommend you check out that edition of Sunday Wire. It was awesome.
Yeah, definitely. It was really, really good. So this, of course, piqued my interest because I'm always curious about things of farts and that nature.
Curious about fart death?
The death by the Dutch oven.
Dutch oven death? It sounds like a death metal band that we've just coined here or something.
Yeah,
Dutch
so
oven death.
I started to look into it and I didn't actually find any really good, solid, factual information about that specific occurrence. There was a number of stories, but I couldn't find any like real solid stories of that happening. However, I did find this article, and this was published back in 2016, titled How a Fart Killed 10,000 People.
10,000 people?
Yes, a fart.
Like
Now,
a
this is
person?
from the Daily Beast.
Oh, okay. Dreaded Daily Beast. What are they doing to us for?
Yeah, so like the sub caption is farting has caused wars, been obsessed over theologians, entertained kings, inspired Freud, and drove Hitler mad. This article doesn't really go into all these specific things, but there's a couple things I wanted to just mention that were highlighted in this article. So if anybody, did college algebra or was advanced in high school, you probably hit trigonometry, and Pythagoras, who laid down the foundations of trigonometry, was concerned that a person might fart out his or her soul. And this is after the article mentions like all these different religions that have like these different suspicious thoughts about how evil farts are. And I'm just going to read this last part of the article. According to the Greek historian Herodotus, a fart set off a chain of events that led to a revolt against King Apries of Egypt. The repercussions were even worse in first century Jerusalem. The historian Josephus tells us that an irreverent Roman soldier lowered his pants, bent over, and spoke such words as you might expect upon such a posture. And the incident took place shortly before Passover and caused a riot that led to deaths of 10,000 people.
Ah, okay. I thought you were going to tell me this was like a methane gas thing, but no. It was like that time I went to see Guns N' Roses in Vancouver,
This
and
is a spiritual fart.
they didn't show up, and a riot ensued. But this was a spiritual fart that caused a riot to ensue. Do I have this correct, lovely Spore?
Yeah, exactly. So it's more about what you believe in the fart than necessarily like the actual fart doing what the Dutch oven supposedly did, which is killing the lady of whatever that guy ate the night before was really bad. Apparently.
Okay, well, there you go. So myth busted. We love Steve Falconer. We're gonna have to call into question though the Dutch oven death. Even though Odd Man Out and I are still going to start a death metal band called Dutch Oven Death immediately after this episode finishes. But yeah, Odd Man Out, what do you think? I guess it was a symbolic thing that led to a riot.
I just keep hearing the Austin Powers, how dare you fart before me? I'm sorry, love. I didn't know it was your turn.
The Monty Python one too. I fart in your general direction. The guy's like at the top of the tower and like.
So Pythagoras, as intelligent as he was, and as good of a mathematician as he was, he believed you could fart your soul out. Is that
That's
correct?
scary.
So
That is correct, sir.
that is wild. That just goes to show, that no matter how learned you are, you can still believe in some pretty crazy things. And
Yeah.
I felt like that happened before a few times, but
Like you farted your soul out.
yeah, but I think I still have his soul. So
I think it's intact. You may have lost little pieces of it here and there, but you're mostly intact, man.
wow, this is amazing that what some people can believe. It's awesome. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. I mean, it makes you wonder what else, similar things that people believed that, you know, would be absolutely ridiculous to us in this day and age.
What if
Yeah.
it's true?
Yeah.
What if we've been? I mean, like devil's advocate here. All right, we're all eating a lot of unhealthy foods, and I mean, there's garbage in the grocery stores. I mean, that's what mostly is stored in the grocery stores for you to buy. What if it's even worse when it comes out in a fart? Then
I can see that, especially in a closed room, a small room or vehicle. Oh, I can
And
see
how
it
much-
actually making somebody sick,
yeah, like, and how much are we being affected by other people's farts and we don't even know it?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
You got to go in
Remember-
the grocery store. You're surrounded by people farting.
Remember when they used to say that they were causing a hole in the ozone? They were like, yeah, all your Aquanet and your farts and your cows are literally driving a hole in this thing up there we call an ozone layer. When's the last time you heard someone on the mainstream media say fuck all about the ozone layer?
it's been a long time. I remember Aquanet was supposed to be the arch enemy of the ozone layer. So,
Yep. Yep.
and we would take
Bon Jovi.
Aquanet and do the old lighter with the Aquanet and just burn things outside like crazy pyromaniacs.
Yep.
I wonder we didn't end up looking like Freddy Krueger, but I think the ozone layer is doing pretty well right now, as far as I know.
It's not even a thing anymore, as far as I can tell. Ruckus, is the ozone layer even a thing? Do we even do modern people younger than us even know what the ozone layer is?
We shouldn't know what the ozone layer is. There's no such thing, Hesher. That was a lie. What they were always referring to back then when we were kids learning, about the ozone layer, it's just a section in the atmosphere that they decided to test, and they just gave it like this name, but they acted as if like we all have in our head, as if like there's this like there's actual there's no such thing. None whatsoever.
Wait a
Look it up.
second.
Yeah.
Wait a second,
No
though.
such thing.
I stopped using Aquanet in 7th grade, and I'm pretty sure that that's what helped the
You
ozone.
fixed the ozone layer.
Thank you.
You know
for-
what they
it's all-
told me? I
all
separated the cans and and I stopped using Aquanet. I went for like a natural spray instead of the aerosol. So
All right.
welcome.
See, Ruckus, that's why Spore fixed it.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Thank you.
Crisis averted.
But yeah, I'm concerned about the bad foods that we're eating and all of the crises that we're not going to avert if this is what one single fart can do. Have you seen some of these people and what they eat? I mean, geez Louise.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I have so many of these great like jokes in my head about this fart and the art. I mean, like that would be the fart heard around the world. Like nobody really wanted to go to war, but they fired the first fart. I don't know. This is just silly, but that's a great story, Spore. I don't know how you found that. Congrats. I like this one.
All right. Wandering Wolf, man, over to you. Let's see here. So one of our regular chat listeners, users over there says, I've definitely farted parts of my soul out after eating White Castle. And then we got another one who just did a combat landing and said, what a time to enter the conversation. All right. Thanks for checking in on us there, guys. Over to you, Wandering Wolf. fart that started a revolution, I guess. A riot. I don't want to go too far. We don't want to call things an insurrection that aren't an insurrection, but a riot.
Yeah, what is an insurrection these days? I mean, I thought at least tanks were involved. Yeah, this one's interesting. This it must have been a slow news day over there, right? Because you've got what is it in the subtitle about a fart driving Hitler mad. To say nothing of the mustard gas that he would have had to deal with in the trenches of World War One. I would have thought that might have had more to do with it. And then this whole thing about Herodotus. Yeah, so the Roman Empire was well in decline by the time Herodotus was writing his histories. And so a lot of what is in there, I wonder, is just him taking the piss out of the Romans, making fun of them, just making light of the whole thing because their entire civilization, and by virtue of that, every other civilization that depended upon them economically was in collapse. So I think it's a big joke. I've read that account a long time ago when I had to read Herodotus, and even then I thought it was kind of a joke. Yeah, I don't know what to make of this one, but considering what people eat these days, let alone what people feed their dogs, if any of these accounts were to be believed, I think we'd already be an apocalyptic hellscape by now. So we might be safe from the flatulence of doom.
Yeah, I think so. This might be Infidel Pharaoh. This might be ancient Greek fake news right here. This sounds like the kind of story, fake news story of your, 300 BC fake news.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the story. I
You
have
shouldn't
not heard
be.
it before myself,
Yeah,
so
it's a
I
waste of
can't
space in your
comment.
brain, man, honestly. All right.
But
Yeah.
this is why. No, I'm saying, this is we all experience those parts. So I feel sorry for that lady that died from her husband. So did they actually charge him for involuntary manslaughter, or like how
If
did
we
it go
can,
in court?
I don't even know if we can confirm this one. We're
Well,
gonna have to dig a
that's the
little
thing is,
deeper.
I can't confirm it. So
Do we have to go back to Greek times for a murderous fart? Is that what you're telling us here, Spore?
yeah, like there's certain people that say that he was convicted of manslaughter. It wasn't first or second or third degree or whatever, but she died because of his farts. But then there's other people that are saying that it's fiction. So
All right, fair enough. It was a side note in Steve's presentation, everybody. Steve's presentation was very serious, actually, and it's important for you to check it out. Uh, he'll be featured on more shows here at ACR. He's been featured on TNT also. But check out the Space Busters BitChute channel, Odyssey channel. Check out their videos on germ theory. There's some really, really serious and important information that might really help you in some of those videos that they've done. And a good jumping off point is this last Sunday's Sunday Wire, which is hosted live over here at Alternate Current Radio every Sunday at what time, Spore? I think it's 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 Central, noon Eastern, 5 in the UK. Am I right? Did I do my global math correctly there?
you're talking about Sunday Wire?
Yeah, for people to check it out live.
I think it's 11 a.m. Central.
Yeah. So 9 Pacific, 11
Yeah,
Central. Okay.
yeah. I think you got it.
All right, there we go. For all you new listeners, we do Sunday Wire over here every Sunday. Okay, let's see. Anyone else want to throw in on that before we move on? I don't even know what we're moving on to. I want to hear what everybody else is thinking over here tonight. But Odd Man Out, what's up, man? How you thinking tonight?
Well, I again have purposely stayed away from the news cycle, so I have no idea what the chaos is. What's going on out there. I heard that there was a cancer scare for Biden.
Yep.
I'm
And
seeing
COVID also.
COVID too.
Yeah, did you hear that? Biden got the COVID. He's got the COVID.
Well, if he can get through it, then we know it's no big deal. I mean, the guy's not in great shape.
Yeah, he's triple jabbed though. He's triple jabby.
Oh, triple jabbed. Okay.
Right.
Well, he's otherworldly now, I guess, with the triple jab. I saw something about like, are they really trying to push the climate emergency, or is that just a rumor? Because I haven't paid much attention. So that's a real thing.
Yep,
Um,
yep, yep. Another Let's Go Brandon thing is we might have to declare a climate emergency. So just a couple weeks ago, it was we need more money for the next pandemic, and now it's over 100 degrees, so we might have to declare a climate emergency. I don't even know what that means. What is that?
and Boiler Room predicted that 2 years ago that they were going to try that, probably longer than that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good. They're basically able to write whatever they want it to be. Unfortunately, I mean, they can
Yeah,
include so much in there, just kind of like they did with the COVID quote unquote emergency. And they know what they can get away with under the guise of an emergency. And that's really scary. And you know how they do with policies. A lot of these bills, they're supposed to be for this, that, or the other. And they have all these things that are included in them that most people, including me, would never even know unless you broke apart the bill and looked at it, or some really concerned citizen did that and told everyone. So God knows what's going to be included in it if they get this going. And I've been saying from the start that if they do the new Green Deal, that's the biggest. Because a lot of people, I think, on the right are looking at it kind of, I think, in a wrong way. They're thinking, oh, this is just bad government. It's actually bad government and a gift to their cronies in the sustainable development industries. It's going to be like they're going to take so much money. It's going to be the biggest spending bill, I believe, besides, of course, the military industrial complex. But this 9/11, I think it's probably going to be even bigger than that. And that's what we're in for, I think, one way or another, eventually.
yeah. I mean, they've already like shown what it's all about with shutting down the Keystone pipeline and all these pipelines and screwing over all these people that work in the oil industry, the refining industries. I mean, they're all just like screwed. They halted all these projects, and we're all screwed when they turn off our grids because it gets too hot or it gets too cold. And nobody seems to question, well, like, why all of a sudden? Why all of a sudden do you have to turn it off? You haven't turned it off for the last 47 years of my entire life because it got too hot or too cold. Right now, it's like, oh, it's too hot, too cold. And they turn them off. They turn them off at the threat of ransomware, too. Remember that? They turned off like the whole East Coast because they had a ransomware attack or something like that. And they tried to tell everybody, oh, it's like, harken back to what you've seen in the movies, machines of blinking lights and alarm sounds going off and things, smoke coming out of machines and stuff like that. But no, that's not really what it is. It's someone just turning it off or going to the start button and then the shutdown, or close software, whatever the hell it is they do to turn off grids, big hard buttons. They go out there and turn it off because of like an EPA sort of ruling or a green ruling, or they approach some green line, not a red line, a green line. I don't know. That's my take on it, at least. That sounds like what happened out here in Texas last time. And what they're threatening again, they're telling us every week, hey, we might have to shut the power grid down because you guys use so much air conditioning.
They sure do. They tell us what hours we should turn off of all of our electronics. Of course, they're during working hours or things we need to do. And we've been getting these emails on a weekly basis for like 3 or 4 weeks where it's like, oh, don't do anything in your house. Turn everything off from like 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. So we turn it, we do our part. We turn things down. We're not turning everything off when we have to actually like be doing work.
But we never had to before. That's the weird thing. And they try to feed us this lie that, oh, it's climate change driving this. No,
Yeah.
it's not. They're changing policies. They're shutting down pipelines. You can see pictures of the state line between North Texas and Oklahoma or somewhere like that, where on one side of the border the power is off, on the Texas side it's off, and on the other side it's on, no problem.
Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, there's no doubt that they are choosing where they're turning it off and on and who gets to use what. That's obvious from what we've seen in the past couple of years. They decide, oh, you're in this particular area, you're close to the hospital, or you're close to the Chick-fil-A or the grocery outlet, you get your power. But if you're in this neighborhood that's 5-10 minutes away from there, then you're an unessential person and you therefore do not get to use what you're used to for your viability, like internet and electricity.
Sometimes they'll reach into your pocket too. Like when that happened last time, they have all these energy bills and scams here in Texas and many other states where it's like, oh, you get the variable rate. So most of the year you've got a kick-ass rate. But then when things go bad at the company, you're the one that foots the bill. So there was all these people here in Texas. Not only were there 236 people that died when they turned the power off in February of 2021, but there were all these people that were on the sliding scale energy bill, and they all started getting charged like $200 an hour or something crazy like that. I mean, it's bananas, and they don't need to do that. Texas has its own power grid. It's one of the only states that has its own independent power grid. And somehow, even though we're one of the like freest states allegedly left in the union, allegedly, uh they don't have control over their power grid when that could be one of their biggest draws, one of their biggest beacons of freedom. Wouldn't you imagine, Wandering Wolf? Like that was one of the things I hoped when I was coming here. I was like, well, if SHTF the rest of the country, Texas has its own power grid, it should be good. But now we're subject to, Greta, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You would think, oh, energy independence would be a draw. You'd actually want to go to a place that could provide its own power. When I see stuff like this happening, yes, I do think of Greta, who's the last person in the world who has any degree of qualification to be dictating policy on anything. No one should be listening to her about anything she has to say. She really should chill. But really, I mean, it's every excuse for a crisis, and every crisis becomes grounds for rule by fiat, which is really what we're seeing. But I think there's a cheeky part of me that kind of looks at this and thinks, okay, so we have all this wokeness in the administration, right? So they should be looking at these areas and comparing energy demand to population demographics. And you would expect that the browner areas would see fewer brownouts, wouldn't you? That might be one way to push back.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. Someone in the chat says Texas and Florida will turn into California soon. Change my mind. I'm not going to try to change your mind. Texas and California and Florida. I mean, Florida and Texas, you're on notice right there. Social Rejects Club's wondering, are you going to go for this? Are you really going to put up with this? Change our minds. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I can only take solace in the fact that California is so far out ahead. Oh my gosh, they're insane over there. California, what are you doing? What are you allowing to be done over there? All right, let's see here. Where were we? I got lost in the moment there, Wandering Wolf, but oh man, I don't even know where we're headed, quite honestly.
Hesher, you guys survived the blackout and the dark winter of 2021.
Yeah, we did.
So what do you think is going to be worse, that or if you have no way to stay cool with your air conditioner in the 110 degree weather out there in Texas, which is one of the hottest states, one of the hottest places on the planet? It's pretty hot out there sometimes.
No, it's a good question, man. I don't know.
I will say this. It would be an interesting experiment and something we've thought about a lot, because when we dealt with living in an igloo during that electrical outage back in last year, we were able to put all of our food on our back porch, and we still were able to like cook things with our portable barbecue and stuff like that. We don't have a Joe Rogan backup refrigerator and,
With 10
storage.
elk in it.
Yeah, so I think like there's two parts to it. Well, probably more than two parts. There's the part of like your comfort level, like how comfortable are you going to be when you're just sweating, or how comfortable are you going to be when you just can't get enough blankets on you? And then how are you going to deal with the inability to work? Of course, that's a huge one, but also your food. What are you going to, is your food going to last? Like, I have to admit, I'm like, all right, do we like need to dig like a giant hole in the backyard and store food down there if it's the summertime, because I know it's cooler down there? Like, we don't have like a good solution at this point. I'm sure it's something we should invest in, but for you have to have the backup sources to even get the energy for a backup refrigerator, generators and propane. And I don't know which would be worse. I'd say in comfort level, I'd rather probably be hot than frigid. But in terms of like viability, I'd probably rather have my food last than, not have it last.
Well, yeah, that's definitely one of the benefits to the cold situation there, Ruckus. And I guess I agree with everything Spore said. My answer would be I would have to experience the extended power outage in high heat to really know, because I thought we were pretty well prepared for that kind of thing when we got froze, when we got the power outage that lasted almost 7 nights, when it was minus 17 degrees. And I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot of things we were missing to be able to get through that as, minimalists and be somewhat comfortable. And I unfortunately think that was the greatest learning experience, and would probably have to experience it with the heat too. But I know that like so many people had it so bad during the cold that there would be a similar thing for people that were vulnerable in the heat. Without air conditioning here in Texas, I would imagine there'd be a lot of people that would be vulnerable to heat exhaustion, dehydration, and stuff like that. That would be the main concern. We would be fine even if we suffered, but there are a lot of people might not be.
To that point, though, we did hear a lot of people in our neighborhood that had like broken themselves on, sliding on the ice, broken their ankles and all sorts of bones and sprained things, and they weren't able to get like an ER or emergency vehicle out to get them. And that's something that you only deal with in the cold. Like, there's no excuse for that in the heat unless, the whole grid is down. And I guess in that case, that's when the shit hit the fan.
Yeah. But I know it's frustrating, you guys, knowing that like just cuz is saying in the chat, like they shut these things down on phone calls. Some corporate board or some, federal agency board, they have a Zoom meeting or something, right? And they say shut it down. It's like the shut it down meme in the meme wars. Like that's really what's going on. There's never, Like we had Chernobyl, we had 3 Mile Island, we had a couple other places where smoke started coming out of the stuff and, bad things started happening, radiation started ejecting into the sky. But that's not what's going on with any of these. These are like, oh man, now can you believe this? Like that East Coast thing, it was literally like, oh guys, we got an email. They say we're being ransom attacked. Well, shut the grid down, guys. We got a scary email.
That's their, it's just unbelievable. And the money that is taken out of our tax dollars for cybersecurity and different things like that. And they want to just shut everything down. And that's the way government works, right? It's like they cannot do anything rationally. It's just all or nothing, it seems like. And, at this point, you have to figure that they just enjoy making people suffer, and so they can experiment and see how they react. So they'll know how to pull off the next one. and it's just infuriating, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it occurred to me a couple of days ago. I'm sure this is like a lot of people have thought about this, but and I'd heard it before, but I was kind of like always kind of like cast it to the side. But I think for sure that the public has gotten they've gotten too smart for their own government. And I think like the internet, of course, has helped, and shows like this, of course, has helped a lot. But no wonder they're trying to censor and get everybody under control because they weren't that smart to begin with, and so many people can see through their BS and see how inept they are, and people that still believe in the system, they have to they're either faking or they're totally brainwashed and all in. So it should just for something like that, people shutting the grid down for a cybersecurity threat that may not even be real. I mean, that should infuriate everyone enough to throw half the bums out and that are
Right.
responsible for that kind of thing. But we kind of it's the lesser of two evils thing that they kill us with. I mean, because we won't ever throw our guys out for being corrupt and useless, and it goes both ways like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing that same thing with this whole Uvalde situation. People are so mad. Like they're trying to make sense of these videos. And the more they say and the more they show, the less it makes sense. And that like more cognitive dissonance, viewers are experiencing when they look at that and they're like, what is this? Like they can't even make sense of it. Like this is abject failure, quote unquote, abject failure as one agency points the finger at another agency, or is it, terrible training, as tactical people look at it and try to make sense of it, or is it is it uh is it some sort of theater or combination of theater and training repackaged for media psychological operations? Your conspiracy theorists are saying law enforcement people pointing the fingers at each other, politicians saying, "No one's talking to me. They haven't talked to me. I haven't heard from anybody. They're stonewalling." You know what I mean? It's just like, what the hell is this? So all of those opinions are completely valid at this point because there's no reality to be found there. There's just
Right.
nothing
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. It makes me wonder too, if they could have pulled off a couple of the, I don't want to mention the actual name of it, but one of the older shootings uh, that just kind of freaked everyone out, and Alex Jones got in a lot of trouble over it. I wonder if they could have pulled off some of those things nowadays because the public is a lot more informed than they were even back then. There would
Yeah.
be a lot more questions asked, a lot more people talking about it and trying to get things done. Um, and I think that people need to really pu- push their authority, the authorities, push the people in charge, because we may not get too many more chances to try to hold these people accountable the way things are going.
Yeah. Yeah. The it's just amazing, man, to see the way everybody's starting to realize this. It's like, wait a minute, how can any of us come to any sort of conclusion based upon what we've been shown here? Wandering Wolf, I want to thank you for joining me on my new show at TNT Radio, the Brian McLean Show. Everybody, if you haven't checked it out, head on over there. You'll be able to access it through the ACR site soon too. But yeah, it's a TNT production. And Wandering Wolf, you've joined me a couple times. Oddman's joined me. Ruckus has joined me. And we've all had some really interesting discussions over there. But you and I were talking about, we have sort of this like ongoing discussion right now about uh, praxeologies for dealing with the modern media psyops and stuff like that. And we're probably going to add to it like a taxonomy sort of view for how to categorize the different things that you're looking at, and you're trying to make plan of action for defending yourself, defending your worldview and your context from this kind of stuff. So just number one, thanks for joining me for that, and looking forward to continuing that conversation with you. It's sort of a spin-off of what we do here in the boiler room. Obviously, this is stuff we're interested in. But I think we're onto something here, and I think it applies to what we're talking about right now, man.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Especially when you brought up the mass shootings and how these things are characterized. Sort of at this macro level, it's interesting. I think about Hanlon's razor, which would say, "Never attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence." And it's interesting because you see the incompetence playing out just at the ground level with just all of the institutions and all of the people in government, but then you amass all of that together and you end up with what only looks like malice when you get to that higher altitude and you look at all of the institutions and their incompetence and corruption as one amorphous blob. So we were talking specifically in the context of mass shootings, and I'd sort of outlined a predictable progression for how these things are reported. And I laid this out on the last appearance I did with you on TNT, but I guess I'll share it here since it applies to the discussion that we're having. So,
Yeah, you should. You should. I
yeah,
found that really fascinating. I love the way you broke that down. So yeah, please share.
cool, man. Yeah, I definitely will. And again, there's two things I'll say about this just as a preface. I think that there can be different permutations of how these things show up. This is just kind of a general narrative arc, if you will. So I think that there are a number of different things that can change and be swapped out. And I think the second thing I would say about this too is that it's still developing, and I think that the more more like incidences like these appear, the more I can kind of gather data and polish it. But so when these things are reported on, it starts with the incident itself. The second stage is the performative outrage. So we see this sort of voyeuristic look into pure emotion, pure reaction. There's no logical analysis whatsoever of the actual event. The third stage is reckoning and repetition. So there's an obfuscation of the facts that occurs, and any conflicting accounts of what happened during the incident are completely disappeared. And this leads to the fourth stage called the singularity, which is when a unified narrative of the incident and what occurred is established. And that becomes the major talking point. And the major reference point for how the incident is characterized in the mass media. The next stage is the revelation. So that's the unmasking of the known wolf, which is a phrase that starts to appear at this point. Usually a manifesto appears, or we get a curated social media persona that takes shape. And we're invited to reference and even expect known wolves in our own social landscape. So this is kind of when the fear begins, because then you're invited to start looking around your own environment for other known wolves or other people who demonstrate behaviors that are correlated with mass shooters. This leads to the next phase, which I called apotheosis. And this is when you have a situation where the narrative that's being constructive is raised to preeminence and glorification. And it almost becomes a religious idea that cannot be questioned or analyzed in any way. And so when people start referencing the event or other similar events like Sandy Hook or Columbine or Parkland, people know instantly that what's being referred to is the incident of mass shootings that took place in those places. So those places kind of exist as a canon of horrors, and comparisons are instantly made. And this leads to the final stage, the mandate, which is when you get people to a crisis point where they clamor and say something must be done. There's a sacred call to action, and it becomes kind of a mitzvah. And so they go outside of themselves, appealing to authority for something to assuage their fears and solve this problem.
Yeah, yeah. Ruckus, you've been tracking all this stuff as long as I have, man. What do you think about that layout there, that sort of framework for with which we can look at some of these events? I think Corey's done a good job of laying that out in a way where it's like, because what you and I have done traditionally, and a lot of our colleagues, is just like brainstorm out every single. It's like, oh, that doesn't mix. That's a conflict of interest. That conflicted with that. This timeline changed here. This suspect turned into this suspect. Like, and it just becomes this cacophony. but see how it maybe sort of helps make it gel a little bit, where you can categorize all those various data points into this sort of taxonomy that Wandering Wolf just laid out.
Yeah, you and I and others like us do the Sherlock Holmes thing, look at the evidence and have theories, and and we prove what it isn't, and then we cross them off the list, right, and work our way to eventually the truth. Whereas Wandering Wolf is clearly a Fed, because he obviously has his hands on the official playbook for what they do. So I think he totally outed himself there. I think that was too good, actually. No, man, but yeah, no, that's exactly it. And all joking aside, obviously, I don't think you're a Fed or anything, Corey, but they whoever they are, the proverbial they, the ones who do construct and do create these crises, or at least control them and their outcomes, do have playbooks that they follow. So it's not difficult for someone as intelligent and well-spoken as Mr. Wandering Wolf here to say what he just said there. It's more difficult for someone like me, because I'm not nearly as eloquent as he is. So well said, Corey. But again, man, that was it right there. That was a clippable moment. I don't know, producers, board operators, whoever needs to hear that, clap, clap. But yeah, man, geez, wow. I'm wondering if we can't take that playbook and kind of create the our reaction to it. What was our playbook going to be to combat that moving forward? I think
Right.
if we look at each of these things individually, we should be able to construct something that we could maybe together put, something that makes sense, like a, PsyOps for Dummies kind of thing, to help the mass, general people, the sheeple, whoever who's consuming media or being attacked all the time by this garbage, what they can see and recognize. Oh, wait a minute, hold on, that's like this, and now I know to keep an eye out for this, and and then when you see that, you're like, okay, hold on, time out, I need to back off from this and go do something else and save myself from being brainwashed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So Odd Man Out Ruckus has realized exactly what Wandering Wolf and I have kind of been toying with in the background, is that if we can categorize these things in a somewhat simple way, a way that's not too astronomically, over categorized, and then the next step is to look at how to deal with the things in the categories. So, for example, we talked on the show this week about what to do, how to respond to um, stimulus like outrage or fear or the common things that we get in the media. So I'll go back to Wandering Wolf after I go to you here, but that's kind of what we're thinking for like a theme for our ongoing meetings on the TNT show over there, the Brian McLean show. What do you think of that, man? So basically, it's a matter of coming up with a set of categories to put data in, and then coming up with what Wandering Wolf will explain to us in a minute here, which is a praxeology, set of sort of steps, So we're trying to come up with like the tagline of the show, learn to protect yourself from predatory mass media. That's what we're working on. We're trying to lay that out in a way that can benefit everybody.
I think that's great, man. I think that's great because a lot of people still haven't thought about a lot of these things, because we get so inundated with new outrages constantly. And I think that could really help people, that they could benefit from something like that, because there's so many of these situations that have similarities. And, you start putting a lot of the evidence together. It's kind of like building a case. And, you kind of weigh the evidence once you have so much of it. And, you kind of follow these trails that really show that there's kind of a pattern here that, the deep state or whoever kind of runs some of these things use, and it's recognizable. And that really can help people to discern truth from lie, because, we were, God knows what's down the pike. We've seen some things already. And, we can really if we can understand the psychology that's used and the techniques that they use, then I think that it could really help us to understand what's going on and not live in so much fear either that, these things are happening as often as they say they are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I know that, we kind of touched on this earlier. Like there's a lot of people rushing to these intellectual swim lanes and the knowledge that, hey, all my conspiracy friends have been right in one flavor or another. You know what I mean? Like everybody's having to I don't know what color that pill is in the metaphor land. Like, what color is the pill that one has to take when they say, "Oh, my conspiracy friend was right 5 years ago"? I don't know what color that one is. I'm I'm open to suggestions, but um, it's getting to the point where it's like it almost doesn't matter if, like, say, Odd Man and I have a different opinion on what happened to JFK or 9/11 or on Pearl Harbor or whatever. The the thing that's most important for us to know is that we know what we don't know. We know what theories we may be interested in and what evidence points to those potentialities to explain those stories. But we agree that those stories that the mainstream gave us are are propaganda. At some level of them, at least, is propaganda. And then and we're just not allowed, you know what I mean? We don't they'll give us all these grand theories. They give us all these all this controlled opposition, all these binaries, all these alternatives. They give us a story for the mainstream. They give us an alternative for the alternative people, but both of them will be seated in ways that are mutually exclusive, and everything else is fringe. And if you ever get no one's going to get close enough to the truth to actually know it. So what's the fucking point of arguing with each other over this or that uh s- you know solution for one of these problems that will never be given the data on? I guarantee you Uvalde will be the same. Everything in the daily shooter phenomenon is basically the same. We're never given the forensics, we're never given the motives, we're never given any of this stuff. But we're given policy change and legislation in the wake of them, even though everything else about it is dodgy, classified, redacted, whatever. So, yeah, manufactured reality. And all we gotta do is just, I mean, I hope, I don't know, maybe it's pie in the sky. Maybe I'm just being hopeful tonight, you guys, but I think there is something to be said for everybody just going, you know what? Some of my conspiracy friends were right. Maybe I'm not caught up on the psyop of COVID. Maybe I'm not caught up on the psyop of virology or the psyop of masks or the psyop of social distancing or the psyop of lockdowns. Maybe I buy into all that. But you know what? You guys are right. Something's screwy here. Something's screwy here. And they're manipulating us in one way or another. And it sucks when we all get locked into the polarization and the power politics, even though it's hard to not when the woke cultural engineering is so infuriating. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I think it's probably time to get ready for a break here. But anyone want to throw in before we take an
Yellow.
intermission? Yeah, go ahead.
Yellow pill. Let's
Yellow.
do the yellow. Because for a couple of reasons. Number one, that one hasn't been taken yet, and number two, just like a traffic light, just before it gets to red, it's yellow, and they're not quite ready for the red pill, but this will get them there. It's like caution.
All right.
Yeah,
I like it.
that
I
actually
was
works on a
thinking
number of
orange for
levels.
the same reason. Sorry,
Mhm.
sorry. Go ahead. Go
The
ahead, Wandering
score
Wolf.
Oh, no.
orange pill is actually for Bitcoiners. They
Oh,
already took that one.
Oh, it's
I
occupied.
didn't know. Right.
No, I think yellow or gold is actually quite good because I think one of the ways to deal with this saturation of media and information, which we did not evolve to we never evolved to be in a situation where we were confronted with this much information and stimulus all the time. So we're in a situation where there is a tendency towards paralysis by analysis, but also paralysis of abundance of choice. You know, it's like going into the grocery store and then completely losing all sense of why you went there in the first place, because you're just bombarded with rows and rows and rows of shit. So creating a pause for a moment and allowing yourself to ground in the present is key. And I think, just like Ruckus was saying, that yellow caution light, that is giving you the option to tap the brakes and come to a nice, slow, easy stop at the stop line. Or you can just floor it and run through that light too. But you're being presented with an opportunity to make a choice. And I think that's really important, because what does it do? It returns the locus of control back to the individual. And it prevents them from looking outside themselves for the answers or for the thing that is to be done next. So I think that works quite well.
All right. Yeah, I agree. That's a good one. That's a good one. Odd man out. Over to you, man. We're gonna take an intermission. Are you gonna be able to hang with us for the other side, or have we gone to your limit here tonight already?
I'm afraid I'll probably have to jet. I have to get up extremely early tomorrow. I got a big day
All
ahead
right.
of me. But yeah, thanks for having me on, man. And this has been a great conversation. And I can't wait to continue it and, kind of flesh out some of these different things. And I think it's a great idea that what you guys were saying to put our minds together and see what we can come up with, and have have this information and these ideas that we can compare, because we together have seen so many different things, and I think a lot of us have unique perspectives on this. And so and quickly too, I'll say I've never got the call where somebody actually apologized to me and said, "I'm sorry I called you a conspiracy theorist," or "You were right all along," or anything like that. I've never got that. But every now and then I get the occasional message or email, and somebody will ask me, what do you think about blah blah blah? And I at least know that they are starting to think for themselves, so that something's not right and they want to know things. So maybe that's all we can ever hope for, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I was in the same boat about a year ago, and then I got, it wasn't, I don't want to like claim it was an apology, but it was definitely sort of like very patently, flatly saying, "Man, remember that stuff you used to like rant at me on the couch back in 2015? I think some of that's coming true now." And I was like, "Wow, really? Amazing. I knew you were a smart friend." It's like I
Didn't
knew
want
it.
to be right about it though, right?
Yeah, that was right, Spore. That was one of those things. It's like I take no joy in being right on that one.
Was it
Yeah.
about the frogs? You can tell us.
They turned the freaking frogs. Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, it might have been. It might have been. All right, let's see here. So we're gonna go to intermission next. Odd man out. Thanks for joining us tonight, man, and thanks for being there on TNT with us this week. We had a good time across both networks with you. Thanks for hooking us up with NY Patriot. Everybody, check out the Brian McLean Show at tntradio.live. It's got all your favorite boiler rumors included this week. We got Warner and Wolf. We got Odd Man Out. We got Ruckus. We got some of our extended friends and family. We got people from we got a whole bunch of interviews over there on that show for you to check out, and check out the Joseph Arthur show over there also. Wandering Wolf has been in there, Ruckus been in there, Odd Man Out. So yeah, we're doing a lot of collaborations, and you're gonna have to now track 2 networks to keep track of it all. But we're having a good time. We hope you guys are too. Finally getting daily content out. People have been asking us to do that for a long time, and now it's happening. And we got a lot of other things we're working on in the background. So all right, we are gonna go to intermission, everybody, unless anybody has any final thoughts before once, twice. All right, there's your final thoughts. We'll be right back, everybody. If you're on the video streams, we're going to cut the YouTube stream and we're going to go to Rockfin on the other side. It may be a very short segment. I don't know. We'll see how everybody's feeling. But yeah, this stream on YouTube is about to close off. So if you're out there watching this on the YouTube, thank you for joining us here in the boiler room, and we'll be back next week. And go check us out on Rockfin, and we'll be right back over there on Rockfin. Peace out.
You're listening to Boiler Room on AlternateCurrentRadio.com.